Hey folks, it is David back again with another video, or in this case, a live stream. I think this is the first time I've ever live streamed to David View's movie channel. Not 100% about that, but I've been trying for the past half hour. Going, here's how all is well, and I finally am uh, live streaming now. Let me uh, let me really check my audio here. And if we're good with this, then I think we're good to roll. Yep, not going to need that. I don't know why I wasn't able to set up a special destination for this channel. I had to do the custom URL deal. Anyway, enough about that. Let me just show you this real quick. Get back over to StreamYards. I saw a working man today, 1:40 showing over at the AMC in Mobile, Alabama. And as you can see, yet again, for the 100th time, you can't see it. I can barely see it because these ticket stubs are not ticket stubs. These tickets are garbage. And I'm sick of it. And we're going to have to put in a special legislative effort or something to get some actual sturdy memorabilia, something you can really hold in your hand and have confidence that it won't flake apart like a moth. Something with actual ink stamped in there really nice so you can have it and show it and like, I saw this movie today. Anyways, enough about that. Let's move on. Good to be here. Good to be doing a live stream. I knew I needed to do a review of this today so that I wouldn't get bogged down with the work week coming on tomorrow and forget about it, because I hate doing that. There are at least a couple dozen reviews that I wish I had done, but I don't do them right away, and so then it just gets to be where it's just too late. I got to make a special effort if I don't do it tonight. So let's talk about A Working Man. I'm going to go ahead and say spoilers right now, just in case you haven't seen the flick. I know it's only just come out, but in keeping with what I said I'd see the movie a few videos back, and so I saw it, and I liked it. First things first. Let me just tell you what I saw. Again, spoilers. I'll not ruin too much. You pretty much know going into this film what you can expect and what you're going to see, and it really does deliver. Um, a weird thing about me, I didn't watch The Beekeeper. Statham was in a movie not a year ago, I think, where he was like this quiet man, kind of just kept to himself. The beekeeper. He kept bees, literally. And I got a feeling that this film was a lot like this one, or this one was a lot like, or that one was a prelude to this one as far as the kind of action movie that Jason Statham is capable of delivering. But just before I forget, this book is actually a book. This movie is actually based on novels by Chuck Dixon. Lavon's, I'm going to get it wrong. Lavon something or other. Let me look that up just so I get it correct. And I believe I'm saying the name correctly. Chuck Dixon. Lavon. Lavon Cade movie. What are the novels called? I want to get this right. Lavon's Trade. I think I would have eventually uh, got that right there. I think I would have eventually thought of that. So let me just get into this movie for a few minutes here, and not keep you too long in this stream. Not keep myself, because I'd hate to miss out on another review. I didn't watch The Beekeeper because of that one scene. It's I saw it in the trailer, especially if there was a Red Band trailer that I saw, or maybe it was a clip that somebody put on YouTube. How the kid, well, he looked like a kid. He wasn't a kid. He was a man, but worked at a casino or some such thing. Anyway, Statham like ties him up to a car and yanks his body, kills him, yanks his body. He's like torturing him for information for a second. Maybe made him make a phone call or something. I just thought there was just. I know it's supposed to be a revenge flick. Again, this is not even the movie I'm talking about, but it's why I didn't watch The Beekeeper. maybe it is a worthwhile flick. Maybe I'll have to go back and watch it now just because I enjoyed uh, a Working Man as much as I did. But yeah, there was a viciousness to the scene, at least that I thought. Maybe if I watched it, I would understand it better. But I thought, you know what? I just think I'm going to skip this one. But in keeping with my word, what I said, I was going to watch this movie and see if they do justice to some of the legends' work, Chuck Dixon, and I liked it. I like this movie, A Working Man. The way it starts off, there's something about the sound effects as they do these very neat little visuals. It doesn't last too long, but it gets the point across. It's not minutes and minutes of this, but what they do is they overlay these construction scene visuals, really neat, like animation, painting, however they did it, overlaid with war scenes, like men dodging and hiding behind huge bullet casings, like those big shells they would fire from battleships. That's how big these, but they're not shells. They're huge bullets, like from an M16. But the way they did that, it was pretty neat, and the way a uh, a tank and like a cement truck pouring, it would have like the same visual, the same big steel industrial moving the earth, building and destroying ideas come to mind with that. And I didn't catch it right away, but what it was it's like four special forces guys. These were paratroopers, Green Beret, maybe not Green Berets. He was airborne, is what Jason Statham's character was. Again, he plays Levon Cade or Caddy. I forget the way that's said, but he was basically a British soldier for over 20 years, and to get away from that life of uh, violence that cost him in his life, the sacrifice and heroism, all that he did, he he had to escape that, and he actually came to another country. He came to the USA where he got into construction, and it's kind of a sad image of him in his truck. Like that's how he lives. Like he doesn't really have an apartment or a house or anything. He just survives literally in his truck a lot of the times and eats food that you wouldn't be able to maintain your health for very long eating like that and not getting comfortable rest. But it just showed the kind of it got the point across as far as the kind of not tortured, but willing suffering, just to, as Stallone said in Rambo 5, I'm just trying to keep a lid on it, to maintain himself where he is, to not be someone who, in a prior life, in a prior existence in his life, killed people. To get away from that and just be a man who still took responsibility for other people. He has this neat little, it's not a prayer, but kind of a all hands on deck. The construction crews, they all put their uh, hands into the pile, like that kind of thing, where they see saying, and let's all go home with the same amount of fingers that we came in with today. We're going to be inspected, we're going to be judged, or however he said it. We're going to have people looking over our shoulders, going to keep us from getting work done the way we want. Let's focus, let's just work hard. And he's got this like a Spanish speaking work crew, somebody interpreting for somebody else and saying, give it your all today, basically, like work hard. And that's how the movie begins. And it really, the images that they started up with, and also the music, this is what I started to say, how that music, there was something about it wasn't a long lasting thing either. It was just 10 or 20 seconds of this recurring. It reminded me of like a cross between the sound effects, that music from the beginning of Commando and Rambo. Really, that's that electric, was it electric guitar, whatever, a synthesized, like if you can imagine the beginning of Rambo First Blood Part 2, or maybe the way that Commando begins. And I immediately thought, you know what, they really are trying to beckon back to some of those kinds of movies. And I almost didn't want to admit it, but by the time the movie was over and the way it ends, I think they achieved that. I really do. And I came into this thinking I was going to give a review where I would say, like, I like Jason Statham a lot. I enjoy his movies and stuff. most of them. I even enjoy the Meg. That's how much I enjoy Jason Statham. Pretty much anything he makes, he can be entertaining. But as an action star, I lined him up with those guys from the '80s and the guys I grew up watching: Stallone, Arnold Schwarzenegger being the number one, but also Bruce Willis with his Die Hard movies and stuff. And I just thought, I don't know, you know. And Jason Statham's been in action movies for like 20 years now, but there's still something about it where I thought he is this hard as nails, gruff guy, but Schwarzenegger and Stallone, in my mind, were always just so, especially Arnold, were so, they almost weren't human in what they seemed like they were capable of. I don't know, and Stallone may have done this a few times. And keep in mind, Stallone produced this movie, and I just thought when his name flashed upon the screen at the beginning as some of those first titles were coming up, I thought, man, this is going to be a good movie. It really is. But when I thought of these action stars and like Schwarzenegger, it's basically the scene from Commando where what's his face says, "You know what, John? I'm not going to shoot you between the eyes. I'm going to shoot you between the expletive." And Schwarzenegger pulls this pipe out of the ceiling, this steam pipe thing, probably weighs who knows how much, and hurls it 40 feet down a hallway, and it impales the guy. I'm like, that Arnold was just on up there. He just took it up. So he was just unbelievable as an action star. And so he always took like this number one spot in my mind. But I'll tell you what, as far as just an action movie where they say, getting back to just some good old fashioned action, or however you want to say it, this movie really did the trick. Now, what I want to do now that I've laid the groundwork is trying to remember just a few of the things that kind of irk me a little bit. Shaky cam, and there's a little bit of it in this movie. And I'm not even going to nitpick the action scenes either. There was a scene toward the end, that whole thing with the last sequence of, you know what? It wasn't even in the house at the end. The very last sequence was good to go. But before that, when Statham was trying to get Demi, and every time they said Demi, I thought of the word demigod, which is maybe how they thought of this mid-level gangster that you encounter in the movie. There was some scenes in his place, in his mansion. Again, not the house at the end, the mansion where Statham apprehended, or Levon apprehended. It's not Levon. His name is Bill. William in the movie is on his license. That's even a plot point in the movie where he's trying to get in with these drug dealers to really get into their world so that he'll be able to target the very person he's after to rescue his friend's daughter and his friend as well. There were some fight scenes where some things went so fast in the dark that I thought there's some serious stuff's going down, but I just wish they had taken their time a little bit more with that. And the shaky cam is never good, but really in this movie, the shaky cam and just the stuff that wasn't action, just the first shot in the trailer where you're getting to meet Michael Pena's character, Joe Garcia, and his wife, Carla Garcia, played by Noemi Gonzalez. Ariana Rivas is Jenny Garcia. She is the young woman who you see in the trailers kidnapped by these evil drug trafficking people and human trafficking people. And what it is it's a little bit like, I guess, Taken, where they're targeting young women wherever they can find them, and for sex trafficking, for sex slavery, for who knows what. And I know I'm all over the place with this review, but again, this is just how I do it sometimes. What you see in this movie is interesting, in as much as at the end of the film, you know what? Let me start here. First, Jason Statham. You know what? I'm going to try to actually make a cogent point here, a good observation for once. I'm going to take my time and try and say something that I thought about during the movie. At the beginning of the film, you'll see Jason Statham's character. I'm just going to call him William, because in the movie that's what he's known as, Bill. But for the sake of the novel and honoring Chuck Dixon, I will go and say Levon or Jason Statham. You know who I'm talking about. He sees one of his workers, one of his friends, because to him, and that's something you learn about him right away. He cares about each and every one of these people, and he's watching everybody's back. And he's, you know what, just to build him up a little bit more. People are giving him homemade food and stuff, and he's like, "Why is everybody always trying to feed me?" And the girl says, Jenny says, "Because we know that you're just gonna eat beanie weenies and crackers in your truck," or whatever she said. And he's like, thanks. Tell him I said thanks. And everybody's giving him food and stuff. And the very guy who he kind of rescues from being beaten up by these, like half a dozen, and these are a different set of bad guys from the one he actually encounters, the Russian mob in this movie. These were like, I don't know what their deal was. Did he owe them a little bit of money? You don't really find out with that one guy at the beginning. Was they were just roughing him up, and he sure enough took a bucket of nails, and threw it in their face and busted them up, and had a shotgun neatly stashed away so that he could point it right in their face and make them all doo-doo themselves. And Jenny must have saw that, because she's like, "Was that some army stuff? Like, I know you guys. My uncle was a Green Beret or whatever. I can see you guys. I know you guys." He's like, "You didn't say anything," because he's trying to get away from that life and just be a construction worker. So that's what he's trying to do. He's trying so hard to do that, but they keep pulling him back in. People who like to punch people and kick people keep coming into his world, and he's got to beat the snot out of them. And that's why I wanted to see this movie. Good old Jason Statham. So let me get that one point out, because I think you'll like this. In this movie, they do something kind of neat. I don't know if they even intended to do it, probably. But you see low level guys like the thugs at the beginning, and then you see, let me get the names real quick of these two genius characters in this movie. Let me, come on, show me everybody. Emmett J. Scanlon plays Viper. And what is his female counterpart's name? Eve Morrow played Artemis. It wasn't Alana Bowden as Nina. No, it was Viper and Artemis. These two idiots, they're, they they want to be, especially Artemis, wants to be like an absolute demon bad guy, but they're both too stupid and incompetent throughout this movie to be that big and bad. They became the comic relief of this movie. The way they kept falling over each other, and they kept losing Jenny, and the way she whipped him in that car and stuff. I'm like, this stuff is hilarious. This is too much. And I thought I could see a little bit of this Sylvester Stallone in some of the movies that he has, the way he's put some stuff in these past few movies, like unexpected stuff that makes it more entertaining. Anyways, you see people like that, you see the low level freaks, and then you see this mid level of the mob and the whole underground evil world, criminal organization of organized crime, where everybody's in suits and they're well to do. Even like the one Russian guy who, kind of an interesting character, really. Let me get him. Jason Fleming, who played Wolo Kolinsky. He's the one you see in the trailer. That woman was my wife. Well, that's what's slapping your wife. There was a woman in the theater where I watched that. She's like, yeah. There were so many people emoting to this movie, more so than any action movie I've ever seen. When you know, let me just go to IMDb so I can get everybody full cast and crew. When is it David Harbinger? What is his name? David Harbour, Gunny Lafferty. Levon's daughter, played by Isla Gee, Mary Cade. Mary, his daughter. She says, "Oh, do you mean your friend, your blind friend who doesn't know he's blind?" Because that's what a character David Harbour plays in this, Gunny Lafferty. When at the end of the movie, he's showing all these guns and going, "I will be your weapons cadre, whatever for this your weapons supply." He's showing him these guns, some of which are old, some are new, and some he's modified. These powerful rifles, not huge things, just killing machines. The AK-47 is all this one's been killing American soldiers since 19 whatever, and there were people in the movie theater going, "Yeah, yeah." I was like, "Who am I watching this movie with?" The people in the theater with me made the movie as much fun as the movie was. I kid you not. And I got something else to tell you about extra things that made this particular movie going experience fun, but I'll save that toward the end. In fact, I'll make that the last thing that I say. But let me get back to this point. In this movie, they portray these low-level freaks and then some mid-level people. You see them in their suits, and they're so sophisticated. Even though the one guy's sons look like a couple of absolute queers in that suit they were wearing. What were their names? Can we get their names? The sons of, why can't they give me some real, directed by David Ayer. The two guys you see in the movie with their loud suits, you see a couple of them in there. It's our brand. It's our. You see them from the first time Statham tracks down the first guy. He's quite the investigator, quite the detective in this movie, going into bars and just slipping people money and drugs. The way that getting right into the underbelly, this criminal organization, multiple times in the movie. Levon's trade. He knows exactly what he's doing. Those two freaks, and you see this whole layer. You see like I said, you see the scumbags at the bottom who you can see from a mile away. Man, these are some unsavory characters. But then there's this nice big swath that stretches up to the top a little ways, but also down, where everybody's in suits, and there's something about them, but they look so well-to-do. They're sophisticated. They look wealthy, and they look like they wouldn't really harm anybody. They just look really rich, elite, like maybe billionaires at some conference trying to watch out for their billions. But then at the end of the movie, this is what I'm finally getting to after 10 minutes of yapping. At the end of the movie, what you see is them having a party, like the upper echelon people enjoying the weirdo spoils of their ill-gotten gains. And you're right back to something like you would have thought you would have seen at the bottom of the totem pole, only much worse and lower. These are actually the people at the very top, absolute reprobates. Like the guy who, what was his name? He's basically the one who's bought Jenny and was going to have her. Why? Somebody said, "Why her? Why would you want her?" She reminds me of a painting I saw in a friend's house. It's like, you kidnapped a woman, roughed her up, traumatized her. It doesn't show in the movie. It doesn't really indicate that they sexually assaulted her, because that would go against their whole thing of like, deliver me a virgin. I'm a billionaire. I deserve it. Or I'm a criminal. Or whatever is going through these sickos' minds. What was this guy's name? I hate it that they're showing me these little photos. I can't see all this. Anyway, there were so many people in this movie. Is that him? No. Yeah, that is him. Kenneth Collard. Actor, writer, soundtrack. That's him. That's who's he's the guy who has like bought her. At the end of the movie, he says, How dare you come in here? And Statham shoots him with the rifle. And I don't know if they're making a play on him being a man of small stature or what. But the way he gets shot and thrown into this hollowed out jacuzzi tub or whatever in the world it was. Maybe it was something at one time, but now it's just a dank torture chamber looking place when it looked like at one time it was quite a luxurious room perhaps, but they want it to be dirty. In fact, that's what he says. That's what the guy says in the movie when they had delivered her to him. And it doesn't show this part, but he's like, he's on the phone and saying, get her out of here. She bit my cheek. And he's got a huge like flesh showing where she had actually smuggled a nail and like gone after him. He said, kill her, get her out of here. So then they take her out of there. Later on, they're going to dispatch Jenny and just murder this poor woman who was kidnapped from her parents. But then he changed his mind. He's got his cognac or whatever and his cigar and his, what is that guy's name? Playboy, Hugh Hefner robe or whatever in the world he's wearing. And I've decided I want a second date. And the guy, Viper, and what's her face, Artemis, these two are unbelievable in this movie. Like they go from being bloodthirsty, like let's dispatch this woman. She's a curse. Should have never gotten involved with her. To oh yes, sir. We'll have her cleaned up and delivered her right back to you, sir. He's like, no, I want her dirty. I want her alive, and I want her dirty. That's what he said. And then at the end of the film, at the end of the movie, they are sure enough in this. It looks like maybe it was a grand abode at one point, but it's dirty now, like with literal rust on the walls and stuff. And this big window that looks like Emperor Palpatine's observation window. That's how nice this house was at one time. But to finally finish the point that I finally getting to here, if I can just get it out, is you see all this. You see some low-level freaks, mid-level people who look like they're well-to-do, but then there's some people at the very top who are just so out of their minds. They look worse. These evil criminal people, absolute demons, they look worse. They are worse than even some of the low-level bottom feeders would look like to your eyes, you know, the way that they're having a party in there, quite diverse, Asian, black. They got all these Russian gangsters and kidnapped people and just paid off cops. Oh my goodness, the two paid off cops. What a mess. You'll love them when you see the movie. And the way they die, oh my goodness. It was kind of funny. Kind of some poetic justice, I guess. But it's like, I just like the way they did that. It's like these people at the very top of this evil pyramid, you might call it. They're not well-to-do, sophisticated people. They're the scum of the earth, and they're just horrible. They're just horrible. And he's one of them, Mr. I Want Her Dirty. Anyways, I just wanted to show that point because I thought it was kind of interesting. It was like Caligula. It's like one of Caligula's parties or something almost going on in that house at the end of the movie. After you've already dealt with kidnappers, probably rapists, a bunch of drug dealers, murderers along the lines of this spider web of a criminal organization that Jason Statham is having to navigate himself through just to rescue her. And that's something interesting about this movie also. And I appreciate it very much. I couldn't count up. I would forget somebody if I tried to count up right now. How many criminals, how many bad guys he dealt with and had to kill in this movie, in this story, who didn't understand what he was about and what he was doing. He just wanted to rescue one person, Jenny. And time again in this movie, he encounters some scumbag who's like, who are you? Like in the trailer. What are you? No one does this for one woman, a whore. And every time they call her a whore, he has to kill him because that's just the way it is. This happens like half a dozen times in the movie. And the guy in the trailer does sure enough drown to death. That's for slapping your wife. Some woman in the theater said, yeah, when he did that, when he smacked the guy. Anyway, let me get back to complaining about something. I don't want to give the movie all praise, even though I want to give the movie like on a scale of 1 to 10. I give it a solid 8, solid 8, because of how wholesome the ending is. I was almost tearing up at the end of this movie at the when they're all reconciled, the family, because when it first started up, it kind of lost me because I was like, okay, I can see he doesn't want to have anything to do with that world. He doesn't want to go try and find her, and yet at the same time, there's this tear jerking scene. My mom and my sister are watching this movie with me, right? And what happened was the Garcias are basically saying, "Look, she's missing, and we know you're a soldier." My uncle, my brother was Green Beret. They know that he's a soldier somehow, just because of the kind of person he is, the way he carries himself, how he fought when the thugs showed up on the job site trying to mess with one of the workers. And he's, look, we got money. They're gonna pay him, and it didn't get me. There was something about, maybe it was the shaky cam, or maybe the scene wasn't given enough time to breathe. But I was kind of there with Statham's character, thinking, I don't want to. I can't do it. He's like, I can't go back into that world. I'm not that person anymore. And my mom's over here, kind of, she's got the sniffles because as he has to leave him, like, I have to go. And then the Garcias are consoling each other, like, what are we gonna do? Like, all this stuff. As it went on, because he instantly went and visited his friend, and he says, "You've already made up your mind what you're gonna do. I know you have." He gets back to the Garcias and visits their house, and this is when I started to tear up a little bit at the end, when he has that bit of dialogue Lamont does about how the Garcias, when he was trying to get away from his former life, they hired him, and he says, "You were patient with me. You were my friend." He says, "You were my family." This existence that he did find away from, like, the life of violence and all the stuff he went through in the military, he's able to just try and rebuild his life, even if he is living in a struggle. He was appreciative of it. He was thankful for it. He was thankful for Joe Garcia. He was thankful for Carla, and he was thankful for Jenny. He was thankful. He said, "You're my family." And he says, "I'm going to get her back." And it was a great scene. It was a genuinely great scene. I thought he was going to take that alcohol away from Joe Garcia, because Michael Pena's character's in there, like, in that situation, maybe he's just trying to put himself out of his mind. Like, how is he going to get his daughter back? It's a heartbreaking thing. It was supposed to be a piano recital thing. The family was invited, and in the end, she's not there because she's been kidnapped, and he's still playing a past recital of hers on his phone. And that takes you full circle, let me go ahead and say it, to the end of the movie. And it was a neat little sequence where she's captive in the house. Her hands are bound, but she's still able to walk a few feet. There's a piano up in this old haunted house looking place where these Caligula criminals, these absolutely horrible people, are chilling out having their party. And one of them thinks he's going to go up and deflower some virgin that's been delivered to him. That's basically what that whole thing is about in the end. She starts playing softly on the piano keys, her concerto or whatever it is, and it lines up with the music being played elsewise in the movie. As Statham is there, he finally knows where she is. He's tracked them all down. He's killed quite a number of people. He's using a suppressed gun to beep beep shoot guys who would have shot him out of trees. He's spotting them with his Bluetooth and his infrared, whatever, and he's infiltrating this place airborne style, like in his old army days, right? And it's a neat thing, as that minute or so of him slowly going into that and, like, watching his eyes and stuff, her playing that piano lined up with the sound effects being played in the movie. I thought that was a nice touch. But yeah, there's all kinds of neat little stuff like that in this movie. It's a lot of action. It's a lot of not nice, as one uh, commentator would say, from Jason Statham, and it's got a lot of heart to it. And as much as he doesn't know her whereabouts, he just knows he's got to do this. Like he's duty bound as a matter of honor, as a matter of his appreciation and thankfulness for what he's been given by the Garcias, by Jenny, being a friend to somebody and using his particular set of skills, as another action movie star would say, to follow his conscience, however bloody the path would be, to land him like at that house and rescue her, which in the end he does. And another neat thing about this movie, at the end, there's a big fight. It doesn't last long between him and a character named, and this was part of his infiltration into the world to start being delivered meth and get into that drug world. Chidi Ajufo. I thought I had seen this man in something before, but I guess not. He's in Gladiator 2, but I didn't see Gladiator 2. Whatever. He's Dutch. He plays the character Dutch. He's one of the drug dealers. He's part of this corrupt criminal world that Statham has had to infiltrate here. And he even shook hands with him and said, like, called him brother, because he's a fellow airborne, former operator, and all these things in the military. There's a fight scene between these two at the end of this movie that I just thought, okay, we're about to have a good fight scene here. No, we didn't. This thing lasted not less than 5 seconds. It lasted all of 8 seconds. They rough each other up. They're both holding a knife. Said, "Are you ready, brother? I'm always ready." Like, are you ready? Like they're about to fight to the death. And then you're like, okay, we're about to go here. It ends so fast. I'm like, are you kidding me? This would have been a good looking fight. This would have been something else. No, nothing. Nothing. He overwhelms this man who's bigger than him. And then the guy's like, finish it. And he runs the knife through his throat. And even though it's a good visual, it's a good special effect and all, I'm just thinking, come on now. Come on. This was a fight scene. That's one gripe I have against the movie. That, some shaky cam, not letting a couple scenes breathe as much as they could, but it still had so much heart to it that it's a gradual build-up. I think my sister said it took a while to get going. Well, maybe, but the thing is, once Levon has decided he's going to go after these people, it's just a relentless pursuit. He's like a dog with a bone, hunting these people down, all just trying to rescue her. What was in his mind, you got to understand, is as soon as he gets her back, it's over. He's not on some crusade. He wants to rescue Jenny from wherever she is. That's it. Just all these people just don't seem to understand that, and they keep wanting to get themselves killed by him. If only they had understood. You're watching the movie thinking, this is like the unstoppable force here. If only you people understood, you'd probably just give this girl back to her family the way Jason Statham wants you to, and you'd live. But you won't, so you played out of the picture. It was bad watching these people throw their lives away so needlessly in that way. But some things became kind of comedic, and that's what made it a neat action film to watch, because even though there are scenes like in that van when Statham overpowers the two brothers, the sons of like the head Russian mobster over that jurisdiction or whatever, and lets the van fall into the pond. The way he ends them so suddenly when he finally gets them, and you're thinking he's gonna like they're gonna beg for mercy or whatever. I think they're in the process when it's like, and that was the end. That was the end of two more bad guys, and things like that. And again, I can't stress enough how strangely funny. I mean, did they mean for it to be this funny? These two characters, Viper and Artemis, were in this movie, and what part they played. They worked for Demi, delivering girls to whoever he was supposed to deliver young women to. But it was ridiculous. These two characters are so stupid, and their deaths were kind of comedic too. The way Statham catches up to them, and Artemis ends up being choked to death by Jenny, who's up on this. She's in handcuffs, dangling from a pipe, and meanwhile Statham jumps on Viper, and he's beating the snot out of him, and he ends up breaking his jaw, and he's dragging him along the tile surface of whatever that was. Was it a jacuzzi tub at one point? I don't know. That looks so ridiculous because the camera follows him as he's like, he's got his bloody jaw and he's being drugged. It's like, oh my god. Oh man. Anyways, backing up a little bit, let me get a couple of more little gripes in. The only thing that would have made this better and made it more wholesome, more pure, is if Jenny, this is a gripe that I had early on in the movie as I was watching it. I said to myself, this is how it starts. Jenny had gone out with her friends, right? 4 or 5 young women of the same age, thereabouts. And they were going to basically go to a club. I don't know if you call it a rave or whatever they went to. And I just thought to myself, this is where she's going to get kidnapped. This is how this story is going to get kicked off. And I'm just thinking to myself, thinking, I wish it wasn't like this. I wish it wasn't the case that some young hooers, some young women who were going to go out and behave a little bit loosely at a place that really shouldn't have been, one of them's going to get snatched up because it is an unsavory place where fornication and alcohol and who knows what is going down in places like that. And sure enough, she got snatched they got her in the alley, that thin little alleyway with the skull painting on the building adjacent. And that's how it happened. That's how she was in a place she really shouldn't have been in. That's how it got started. I thought to myself, if she had just been someone who was under surveillance and wasn't in an unsavory place, that would have carried more power, and it would have given more of a sinister presence or essence to all the villainy in this. Is if it was a young woman who wasn't going to some place where really shouldn't be going in the first place, but if she had been somewhere else, I don't know, somewhere in public, but somewhere where maybe she normally went to, and had caught the eye of some of these villains, and they had watched her and seen that whatever they see about these women that makes them think, you know what, maybe we can nab her or whatever. That would have added an element of danger. Think about that. If it was just all this stuff has to happen, begin, middle, and end in a bar scene with drugs, sex, drugs, and rock and roll happening. But if she was targeted for human trafficking in a place where that wasn't seedy, that wasn't filled with criminality, that would have carried even more. It would have been more powerful, and it would have given Statham's private crusade outside of the law as a vigilante more oomph, and you would have felt even better about him shooting people and breaking people up and ending bad guys if something like that had happened. So yeah, there is that. But apart from a little bit of comic relief, like at the beginning with their family, like she's like, "I'm doing all this work. When am I going to get paid?" She's like working in the office in the construction trailer, and there's Garcia, there's her dad, Pina. He's like, "Pay you for what? For 19 years of free room and board and food and practice and all the stuff you pay for your kid growing up." She's like, "Okay, okay, okay." It was funny. It was a funny sequence. All that's always funny, and a great line from Statham. The guy first says when he breaks into his place, "You a cop?" He's like, "You'll wish I was a cop." Great line, and also one at the end. It's Demi when he says, "Why? Why would you do all this for for a woman or whatever?" He's like the fifth or sixth person to say that to Statham's character in the movie. He says, "Do you have a daughter?" He says, "No." "Well, then you wouldn't understand." And that's all he has to say. He knocked the guy in the water, and he ended him. Double tap. And that was the end of Demi, who also ended up doing some funny stuff with his, before that happened, with his craziness and his, whew, he's evil. What more can I say about the movie? I'm trying to get everything out of my system. That one guy, I don't know if he was going for an androgynous look or what, but the guy with the machine gun and wearing that crazy robe, my mom was like, I didn't know if that was a man or a woman. He looked sinister in a kind of crazy way, and he was, I guess, the son or nephew. No, it must have been the nephew or some other relative of that head Russian mobster guy. I can't think of his name. I don't know his name because I'm not seeing the names properly here. Ah, Max Crows. Very unique looking character. Was that guy? He liked shooting machine guns into chandeliers, baby. Let me tell you. Who was the head? Who was? Let me get this. Who was the head monster? The guy at the end who? I'm just going to call him the head Russian lobster because I can't find his name. I can't find his name. Whatever. Can't look at it forever. I'll just say the head Russian mobster guy. At the end of the movie, when he's having his phone call with the council, like the uppermost echelon of this criminal organization, human trafficking, and they basically say to him, "Look, don't go after him, or we'll kill you. Our business comes before your personal feelings, your personal vendetta." And it's a weird thing because I misheard that. I thought they had first said, "Listen, if you go after this man, he's going to kill you because he's killing everybody else who gets in his way." My mom heard it correctly, I guess. She said, "No, he was telling him it's over. You got to let this go," at the very end of the movie. And how that's why he cried in anguish after the phone call ended. He was like, "Ah," because his sons are dead and there's literally nothing he can do about it because they were saying, "Look, our bottom line will be threatened if you keep after this man." And it was quite a little scene when it clicked with me. Oh, that's what they said. They're going to kill him, and he's one of them. Let it go. Let it go. Or Jason Statham's going to kill you. And the way he was like, "Ah," it was quite a scene. It was quite a scene. But yeah, all kinds of stuff like that in this movie. it was a heartwarming thing at the end of this movie when Jason Statham comes in all kind of battered and filthy and soot from the fire in the house, and she also looks the same, Jenny, when they come in. No, no cops, no nothing, because the only cops you see in this movie were bad, paid off, and crazy machine gun androgynous guy killed them in a weird, funny scene. When they come through that in that living room and they're crying when they see her, Jason Statham remains stone faced and just beaten and soldierly the whole time. When they hug each other and then he hugs him, it was powerful. It was a powerful scene. And then when Statham goes back to where he had stashed his daughter, and David Bourne's character says, he pats him on the back, says, "You're home, man. You're home." And it fades to black as him and his wife, Statham, and his daughter are all at the table, just enjoying breakfast together. After all that Statham had been through, and getting Jenny back, it's one of the better action films that you'll see, maybe ever. It had heart to it. It had a good ending. One more gripe. There's a part of this movie when they locate, because they get his driver's license because they had to run it to do kind of a background check because they don't want to be doing these drug deals with Statham if he's a cop. So they knew an address linked to his life, basically, and it was his father-in-law. And his father-in-law is like a new age trip, man. First time you see him, he's got this weird hat on. He's taller than Statham, and he's like, "Listen, your life of violence is hurting her, just like you hurt my daughter." And he's like laying this guilt trip on him about what happened to his daughter, and the way that she died of depression, and that kind of destructive influence is going to reach down to and hurt Mary, his daughter. And you're just thinking, man, what is your deal? This guy he's trying to live. He's trying to work for a living. I'm talking about Statham. And so the father-in-law puts a bad taste in your mouth right away. And I forgot to mention that part, how his father-in-law basically in the start of the movie is like the villain in his life, not criminal, but willing to use the law to hurt Statham's character, Lamont, because he thinks he has PTSD and he wants him to have fewer visits with his daughter, and supervised at that, like 1 hour supervised every 2 weeks, down from 2 a week. And it's like, and the way Lamont deals with his lawyer, where he just kind of stacks up cash, like, "Do you got a daughter? Like, fight for me. Fight this guy. I'm not going to snap. I'm not going to do anything I'm not supposed to. Just help me keep my life." And it really endears you to Statham's character early on in the movie. But there's this part of the movie when I'm like, come on now, this is stupid. He takes his daughter when there's a situation. I'm like, this is like a cinema sin, as they call it, a crime of movie making. Because I'm like, no, Statham's character would not do this. He wouldn't. He would go and drop his daughter off first, but then it wouldn't make sense. He would need to go. There's nobody in his life that he can stash his daughter with. Let me start from the beginning. I'm griping about the part in the movie where he picks his daughter up from school because he's called and informed nobody's come to pick her up. She's been calling at the house. His father-in-law, where she lives, isn't answering. And he suspects right away something's going down. Big mistake to tell that to the viewing audience, because it's like, okay, what are you going to do, Statham? He takes his daughter to the house where something might be going down, and he suspects something's going down. I'm watching the movie, and I'm thinking, he would not do that. No, he would stash his daughter in a safe, secure place, whatever he would have to do before we go to that house. When he gets to the house, it's on fire. recently set. And his father-in-law, when he breaks through the window, after he tells his daughter, stay in the car, he's almost there. He looks back. She's gotten out of the car. He says, stay right there. He bursts through. He finds the father-in-law tied up, gets him out. And then his father-in-law is lecturing him outside, like, it's your life of violence. Violence and destruction follows you everywhere. And his daughter's saying, Grandpa, he could have left you in there. He saved your life. And her grandfather at least says, I can acknowledge that. And I'm like, finally, you're speaking some sense. That's the first level-headed thing you've said. And he has the decency, as Statham's leaving him, says, did he call him William or Bill? Bill, thank you. I'm like, okay, so the father-in-law is not a complete butthead. But I'm thinking to myself, 9 out of 10 action movies you would ever see, that's a trap. When he would go to that house and dare to bring his daughter with him, he goes inside. There's some bad guy waiting outside who would nab her. And that would be the third act of the film, rescuing his daughter. It just messed with you. I'm thinking to myself, no, this doesn't make sense. He would not. Airborne warrior knows when he's walking into an ambush soldier. He would not do that. He would not take his daughter to that house. He wouldn't. Even if he doesn't have anybody, he would find somebody, anybody. But he wouldn't take her to that house when he suspected, after all the stuff he'd gotten himself into trying to find Jenny and rescue her. He wouldn't take his daughter to that house, but he did, and that don't fly with me. It's messed up. But then he takes her and leaves her with his friend, his blind friend, former soldier. And I realized at the beginning, this is what I started to say in the beginning, how that neat little animated almost sequence of him rescuing a soldier, that was actually something you didn't realize, but that's actually him, something he did for his friend, and how a blast affected the guy's eyes, and they wrapped something around it, and they got him to safety out of the firefight. Again, it was a neat opening sequence, really beautiful to look at. And in real life, his friend, that had actually happened, and his friend's eyesight was gone because of that bit of action and that blast that he took with whatever flew up in his eyes. And that was just a really neat thing. He leaves his daughter there, and then all the stuff I've told you about already happens. But yeah, that really bugged me. He would not have taken his daughter to that house. He would not have taken his daughter to that house. And you know what? I think I can actually have this be under 1 minute. I got 2 minutes left. Let me end this with a really neat thing to tell you. And this is something that happened in the movie theater that made my movie-going experience for watching A Working Man with Jason Statham on March 30, 2025. So enjoyable. At the end of the movie, when he's fighting the guy, one of the guys most responsible for targeting Jenny and kidnapping her, when he's fighting, keep in mind, there's been a thunderstorm, not a thunderstorm, bad weather in Mobile, Alabama today. Thunder and stuff. In that part of the movie, when he's fighting him, and you're like, this is the end of this guy, him and Artemis are about to be dead meat. He's wrestling him, and you think he's going to throw him out the window, but no, he breaks the guy's jaw on the thing, and he slams him down. Jason Statham says these words, "It's over now." And right as he's hitting the guy, like he's going to break his neck or whatever, the power in the theater goes off. The screen goes black, the lights go out, and we're in the dark. Literally, I kid you not. Jason Statham says, "It's over now." And boom, the lights in the theater went off because of the storm. Electricity went out. I kid you not. And history was made. You know why? They actually, when they got things back on track in a kind of orderly manner within 10 minutes. They rewound it. Just a few minutes. I was able to get a bathroom break in, get back into my seat just in time to have a couple minutes to spare. I didn't miss any. I went to the bathroom, had to pee at the theater, and I didn't miss any of the movie. Plus, I got the memory, and so do a bunch of other people who were laughing and cutting up over this because they were like, when we were in the dark, some guy actually said, well, when Jason Statham says it's over now, it's over now. The dog, it's over now. Boom! And the lights went off, man. I kid you not. It was crazy. It was great. And a great movie. So, on that, I've gone over 1 hour, but thank you so much for hanging out with me, folks. Hopefully, this live stream will show up on my channel the way that I want it to. So, until next time, thanks for watching. Take care.